Question 12 wants us to solve an absolute inequality. So absolute value of 3x minus 1, where is that greater than 5x minus 2? So here's the question. Absolute value of 3x minus 1 is greater than 5x minus 2. Alright, now what's kind of hard for people to understand here at the beginning is that this needs to be split up into two directions. There's two inequalities that needs to be solved here. So let's first try to understand how this one needs to be set up. This one's a little easier to see. So the way absolute values work, no matter what's inside of it, it comes out as being positive. So if I can make this stuff underneath it bigger than this stuff, then that would be a true statement. If I can make 3x minus 1 bigger than 5x minus 2, then the absolute value of that would still be bigger. So for one direction, it's like I can just drop these absolute values and then solve the inequality by subtracting 3x's from both sides, adding 2 to both sides, and dividing both sides by 2. So this part of the answer says x needs to be less than 1/2. Now to understand the final answer, we really need to graph this. So here is 1/2, and with that left side of the work, it's saying any number over here should be correct. Let's make this look more like an arrow. Okay, so most people get that pretty quickly. The one that's a little harder to understand is because of these absolute values, you can also make this small enough. In fact, if you make it very small, then when you take the absolute value of it, it all of a sudden becomes bigger than this side. So I want to make this less than, so take this, make it less than the opposite of this. Okay, so again, if I can make this small enough so that this, when I take the absolute value of it, it flips it and becomes bigger than that, this is how you're going to need to set it up. So you change the sign, the direction of the inequality sign, and you try to find the opposite of that. Okay, so this would be like where they were equal. Where does this stuff equal the opposite of this? That would tell us kind of where that starts to happen, and then we want the less than. We want to make sure that this is smaller than the opposite of that. So if you can wrap your head around that, then we can just distribute the negative and go ahead and combine like terms, isolate the x. The second part of this equation didn't actually have any bearing to the answer, but most of the time it will. It says x has to be less than 3/8. And 3/8, 1/2 is 4/8. So 3/8 is going to be a little bit less than that, somewhere over here. But I was already going to include all of those points anyway. So in interval notation, which is what all the choices are set up, I should be able to take any number to the far left, so to negative infinity, up to 1/2, and don't include 1/2 because we did not have an equal to part there. And so this should represent the range of values that make that true. So let's look at our choices. That would have to be choice B.